Hello everyone, and welcome to the TTFT Q&A video. Firstly, I'd like to say a massive thank you to all of those who have taken the time to watch and or subscribe to this channel. Your support really does mean a lot to me. Last week I made an announcement video offering people to ask their questions, and today we're going through and answering the whole lot. First question is from OGRCNZ, who writes, how do you find the numbers of trains running like MP3 and where they're going to or coming from? Well, it's primarily through the New Zealand Locomotives Facebook group, and speaking from experience, I think it's a pretty good source of information. Oliver the BR Black 5 asks, are you going to continue doing services in Train Simulator on the island of Sodor map? Well, I don't intend to revisit that route anytime soon, but that's not to say I'll never go back there. One idea I had was to drive a Class 42 warship on the Isle of Sodor, since Diesel 10 is based on the Class 42. Next question is from Mr. Muffin Trains, and he asks, what's your favourite photo taken of all the time you've been train spotting? Well, it's either the time I saw DXC 5293 leading train 220 to Auckland, DC 4041 in the Martinus rail livery, or DXC 5454 and DC 4421 together in Wellington. Fourth question comes from the Patu Mahoe train spotter. How long does it take you to film a video's worth of trains? Depends on how many trains I intend to film and how frequent they are, but on average I'd say it takes between 1 and 4 hours to film enough trains for a video. At least that's how it usually is here in Tauranga. Slasher7200 asks, what's your favourite steam locomotive? Oh, that's easy. The New Zealand Railways JA class, more specifically JA 1275. Next is Transit Fan Productions, who has two questions. 1. What is your favourite North American locomotive? I'd have to say either the EMD F40PH or MPI MP32PH-Q. The former because of how iconic she is, and the sheer amount of variants and liveries the F40s have carried over the years. As for the MP32PH-Q, I think they're somewhat underrated, and certainly one of the most obscure, and strangest looking, diesels in the US. The second TFP question is, Out of all the train simulation games that you play, which one do you think is the best? Well, it's a toss-up between TS 2022 and TSW2, which probably won't come as a surprise to anyone. Next question comes from, and I hope I'm pronouncing their name right, Jonty Sherson. And they say, what's your favourite long-distance passenger train service out of Te Huia, Capital Connection and Wairarapa Connection? Well, I've only been on the Palmerston North coaches once, not counting that excursion from New Plymouth in 2007. So I haven't got much of an opinion on that service. But I think my favourite of the three is the Wairarapa Connection, simply because I'm fascinated by A, its stopping pattern, B, the era when DCs haul the train, and C, the unique circumstances that keep the service running. One thing that Te Huia, the CC and WC certainly have in common is that they all use rebuilt ex-British Rail Mark II coaches. Isaac Cat 99 has 4 questions, which are as follows. 1. Would you rather film or photograph passenger or freight trains? That's easy. Passengers. Though the railway line round my way is freight only. I've often got to go to places like Auckland or Wellington just to see any passenger services. 2. Would you rather drive a passenger or freight train? If we're talking about both a real job or in Train Simulator and TSW2, I'd go for passengers again. I find these runs much easier and more interesting than freight trains, especially since you're often using a multiple unit or locomotive hauled coaches. Overall the consist is much shorter, lighter, and easier to handle than a long and heavy freight train. 3. What is your favourite railway line in New Zealand? I'd say either the North Island main trunk or the branch line from Ruakura to Hautapu, although prior to 1999 this line actually continued all the way to Cambridge. Four. What is your favourite urban transport system in New Zealand? It's the commuter rail network in Wellington, simply because of its fairly relaxed nature, especially when compared to Auckland, the unique Matangi electric trains, and the incredibly varied geography of the region, although that's probably an understatement. There's a lot of other reasons, but I think I've already given a good enough indication of why I like the railways in Wellington. Next question comes from Army Blocks, who asks, when was the first time you ever recorded a train video in New Zealand? Probably around 2009 or 2010, but I don't remember the absolute first time I filmed a train. But this is some of the oldest footage I still have in my archives. This is from a day in April 2010 when JA 1271 was running jazz festival excursions in Tauranga.
Wait.
Time to Go has a long list of questions, so instead of going breathless reading it all out, I'll instead put it on screen here. Well, that's certainly a lot to take in for a start. Regarding the future of projects like Te Huia, I think it's too early to make any predictions about that train's future success, if it has any. From what I've seen, the service is quite underutilised, in other words, it hardly has any passengers. As for what I think is the future outlook for New Zealand's railways, for starters, it's not an outlook for Thursday. I know so little about how the network is doing, I just go out and film trains passing by, that I haven't really got any thoughts on the future, but I do think the freight trains, at least, will keep running for many years to come. The last question is from Edward Vincent Briones. Apologies if I've horrifically mispronounced that last word. And Edward asks, do you watch any other train vlogs on YouTube? Or words to that effect, I don't remember exactly. Sometimes I do watch other train spotting videos, such as those from Simon Trains and Danny Harmon, aka Distant Signal, but not on a daily basis. And that brings us to the end of the video. I'd like to thank everyone who has left those questions, and to all of you for watching. Here's to another 3,000 subscribers, though that's probably wishful thinking.